Okay, welcome back, everyone. Today it's our 26th episode.
27.
And,
Oh,
27th?
Is it 26?
26,
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm wrong.
Yeah. Anyways, today it's our 26th episode, and last meeting or last episode, me and Kai had a discussion prior to recording the episode about DJI, where we talked about like things on set and like thinking and pre-shooting anxiety and all of that. And so we thought it would be nice to like kind of re-expand on that and like rediscuss that in today's episode, and at the same time share more of our thoughts on that, because we thought it's an interesting topic to discuss, definitely. And so today this is our topic. It's thinking on set. How do we, like, we're gonna share our thoughts, share our experience, and how do we think on set, and what are some of the mistakes that we make that we could learn from. What are some of the mistakes that perhaps Kai makes or I make, and so we could learn from each other and see how this goes. So it's an exciting episode today, Kai, isn't it?
Very nervous. And actually, you're the one who brought it up last time, I remember.
Because it always comes on my head. Yeah.
The thing is, you were asking me about like this anxiety that you have before shooting, and then you start to worry about what would happen in shooting, right? My first encounter of this anxiety was with you, actually.
Oh, really?
Like that was every shooting that I had before the one I had with you was pretty chill, because we were all students. I mean, some students still do get nervous, but the one that I had with you was the Coton one. And
I remember that.
For people who don't know, that was my graduation project, I believe, and that one was sponsored by a Turkish fashion brand called Coton, and then they gave us actually a lot of money. I believe it was like, for us, it was like a lot of money. It was like $1,000
as students, of course.
Yeah, it was like $1,500 to shoot that short film for them. And every day when we shoot, we spend a lot of money on it. I remember it was like $200 every day or something like that. But I was just so nervous, and you were there. You saw me.
Yeah.
Did I look
shooting
nervous?
behind the scenes, dude. I have to say, bro, I can tell you're nervous, but you're pretty good at not showing it. And that was a question I had. Like, how do you, like, that was a question I wanted to ask you during the episode, which is like, you're very good at like hiding that you're not nervous. I don't want to say hiding, but like you're very good at like making everyone like be chill and like relaxed. And even though sometimes you know that things are not necessarily going the way that you want, you're very good at that. You're very good at controlling that. So kudos to you on that. Like, that's a very good skill to have.
I didn't know that.
Well, for me, I'm totally the opposite. Like, I freak out, I get nervous, and it's a little bit different for me when things go wrong in set, or when I get like kind of anxiety in set. And so there's that as well. But I want to talk about like pre-shooting and anxiety, and like this as like a concept, and how do you deal with it, and like what are some times that you have dealt with that. And so like for me, so this is how it goes, right? So it's the night before the shoot, right? Like, you prep all your gear the day before, and like you have your shot list, your storyboard, your script ready, and location, and everything is ready, right? And people are arranged and all of it, right? And it's the night before, and like you go to sleep and your brain starts thinking, right? You can't sleep well. You cannot sleep well because you're thinking about like, okay, like what's gonna happen the next day, and your brain starts to come up with these scenarios that, what if things go wrong, right? Like, what if this happened tomorrow? And it's all in your head, right? Like, it's not true. It may not happen, but for some reason, your brain comes up with these scenarios, and you start to think of solutions. Like, if this happened, I need to do this, and you kind of start to like miss on your sleep hours, and you want to sleep, and it's kind of terrifying, right? And so this happens to me most of the times pre-shooting, but like eventually I start to like become a little bit chill over it. Especially like this happens especially when you're solo filmmaking, right? Because everything is on you. Especially like the smaller you are in a film set, and the more that you have to do, the more hats that you have to wear, the more that you kind of have to worry about these things, because there are a lot of things that are outside your control, and you have to take care of multiple aspects during the shooting. And so you kind of start to worry about these things. But like do you get pre-shooting anxiety? Like, how do you deal with this? Like
Man, I get massive stomach ache. I don't know if you have.
Okay.
I have.
No, I never
like,
have that.
You're so nervous. You get massive stomach ache. But that was early on actually. Like, to be honest, okay, I think there's different level. Like you said, there's solo filmmaker, right? I think things are definitely way harder if you're a solo filmmaker because you're kind of like the producer, everything. But I did notice that once I have a producer that I really trust, that like literally I really trust the producer, then I get like way less stress before the shooting because I know the producer is gonna take.
You know that this guy's gonna take care of the job.
Yeah, he's gonna take care of the job, and I know it's gonna be fine. And so I just focus on the directing, and I realized that okay, so there's a couple of ones. Okay, the first ones are if you have like a really good producer, and you trust the producer, then you just focus on your directing, right? And one thing that I do to make myself feel more secure is I rehearse in my head. And this is something that actually I used to do since I was a kid. Like when I was in high school, I used to work as a magician. I think I told you, like I work on a TV and I go to like a restaurant. I do magic tricks. And one thing that I do is I always rehearse the trick in my head. I don't even do it. I just imagine like how it's gonna happen. Oh, I'm gonna say this, they're gonna laugh, and I'm gonna do this. And this is the same way I rehearse in my head for the shooting. So I read the storyboard, and then I just imagine myself at the set, and I'm gonna tell them what to do. I just practice a couple of times in my head, and that actually really helped. And I actually look up online if there's anyone who does this kind of thing, and it is actually a thing. And people say that when you rehearse in your head, it is almost like 90% as effective as rehearsing on the actual place.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if that number is correct, but for me, it is like something that really made me feel much like it calmed me down, and it made me really sure about what I want on the set. And also another thing you can do is you start to imagine the edits in your head. You start to edit the shot in your head. So when you're reading the storyboard, you start to time it in your head. Okay, this shot is going to take like 2 seconds, and then you imagine everything. Because one thing that we really get nervous on set is we're not sure if this shot is enough or this is the right shot, right? But if the thing is really close to what you imagined or what you expected, then you know this shot is good enough for to pass on to the next one. So this is my tip. Like I'm sure there's a lot of other tips from other really successful filmmakers, but my way to deal with it is to rehearse it in my head multiple times and like just go through the shots over and over again. Now, when it comes to solo filmmaker, right? This is the second one, and which is something that you're going through right now.
Yeah.
I used to do solo as well, and what I did is it kind of come with the experience, but the first time I did it, I'm very nervous. I don't know what to check, right? Even the equipments, I'm not sure if I rented the right equipments. I look for everything. So I kind of created like a list where like a checklist, you know, like, oh, okay, I checked all the equipment. I checked if the shots are all correct. I checked if the location for tomorrow that I'm going to rent is still available tomorrow for the shooting. You know, it did happen to me. Sometimes they cancel the location the day before. You know, these kind of things really stress you out. Or you hire some assistants and they cannot come tomorrow suddenly. So these are the things that you got to make sure before the shooting. So I kind of, over the years, I built up like a checklist. And every time I had a new shooting, I learned about something. I add that to the checklist that I have to check. So I have like a lot of things that I have to check the day before. So at least the day before the shooting, if all the whole list is checked, I know I'm like 80%, 90% sure that, you know, hopefully, inshallah.
Because you can never be 100% sure.
Exactly. And that's the thing that really you need to, it comes with experience. But I feel like the last thing that you should do is be overly nervous. I think it's good to be nervous about it, but being overly nervous
means that you care, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you'll be more cautious when you're nervous. But I do think that there's like a balance point there. Like you cannot be overly nervous, because when you're overly nervous, your judgments is not really, you become kind of like, not like you're too careful that you don't dare to do something that needs a little bit risky, like some choices that need to be done in a risky manner. I mean, sometimes you need that. You need to try something risky. But when you're overly careful, you don't dare to do anything risky. And so the end product is something very like, you don't really like it because it's so predictable. because
Yeah.
you made all the safe choices. So you have
Yeah.
to find like a balance point where you're not overly nervous, but you need that stress to keep you like sharp, you know.
Yeah, man. High risk, high reward always. And so
Mm.
if you like these steps that you take that are kind of risky are usually worth it. And I always like the shots that kind of the hardest because they yield the most results. Or,
Yeah.
or like most of the times, right? But like to be honest, to me, beginning is hard, right? Because it kind of sets the tone. So like when you're on set, like the beginning shots are the hardest because these are the ones that kind of because everything that you had prior to that is just imagination, right? Everything that you had prior to that is just things that are in your head, and now you're putting what's in your head into actual visible form, right? And so that is like when things are that is when I'm the most nervous, you know, because it's kind of like, hey, like am I getting what I want or am I not getting what I want, you know? And that kind of like discovery phase, right, where you're like discovering, looking at the shots and kind of seeing like, should I change things, should I keep things, is the shooting going well, and am I screwing up or not? And that kind of like this kind of doubt that kicks in your head, and you kind of start to battle that at the beginning, right? When things are going well, like when you move forward and you start to shoot, that is when you're like, things are set and like kind of like, okay, things are going well and I don't need to worry, and you don't have to worry as much as the beginning, right? And so like how do you deal with beginnings? Like how has that been for you?
Actually, like every professional filmmaker talked about this. They always say the first day is the hardest day. And
Yes.
I actually thought of that. I don't think I've ever heard people talk about it, but my theory is that it actually depends. But for those who never did any test shot before, you know, some people, they don't do any test shot. They only scout the place. But the thing is, during the shooting day, the first day is actually the first time everything that you've imagined is visualized. You get
Yeah.
it. Everything else, like
That is like the kind of click for you.
Yes,
like,
you said okay.
oh,
So
okay.
the whole film is gonna be something like this. You get it.
Yes.
So it
Yes.
starts to sink in. You start to say, okay, everything that I imagined for the past whatever like month, this is
going
what it
to
looked like.
continue. Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna
yes.
look like this. So you start to
and it's
hesitate.
like accept it or not, you know?
Exactly.
Like you either accept it or you're like, is this what I want, you know? Is this what you have to start to ask yourself these questions,
like because
And-
earlier you said
yeah.
that you were thinking, is this what I want or is this not what I want? It's like actually I would say it's like you're not even sure if this thing is what you expect it to look like.
Yes. And bro, do you know what the worst part is?
Yeah.
The worst part is that you don't have time to think.
Exactly.
Because once
exactly.
you roll, bro. Like first shot, second shot, first take, second take. There's no time to like kick back and like, okay, let me look at this shot. Let me see how it looks. And okay, can we change this again? No, you don't. Most of the times you don't have time to do that. You kind of roll. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And so that's what kind of and okay, so my thing is like, how do you like, what do you do when you don't necessarily, when you know you're not getting what you want and things are rolling and you have to continue rolling and it's not what you want? Like, how do you deal with that? Like, how do you move on from that, you know?
one thing
that's
one thing
a question
is that
I always
I think you have to accept the reality. Like sometimes you just gotta accept the reality. And I actually mentioned about this before, I think in one of the episodes. I always tell myself, what is the message I want to tell in this story? Like I always go back to that because whenever I'm not sure, I go back to that. So everything that I'm doubting right now, I say, does it help with the core message? If it helps, at least I know this is right. Like at least even if this is not what I imagine to be, but if this is something that can help push the story forward, then I categorize it as like, okay, you know, it's just okay. Like that's my way. I'm sure you will find your way, but
there's always this like kind of voice in your head where it's like, man, I'm kind of sad, you know. This is not going how I want. Which is all right. I think, look, man, like I thought about it and I was like, okay, look, it's never been like, for the majority of the times, like every time that I've shot, it has never been the way I imagined it in my head, right? And that's what I hear from other filmmakers too. Like there's always gonna be mistakes. Things are always gonna go wrong, you know. And it's never gonna be how like this magical idea, this magical vision that you had in your head. It's always gonna be a little bit a little bit worse than that, you know. And there's nothing wrong with this. This is how the process works, I think. You know, you have to always try to get as close as to what you have in your head, because it's very, very, very hard. Almost, I haven't had a time where I had always what I imagined happened exactly what I wanted, you know. And this what I imagined was like freaking way easier, like way easier than or the vision that I had was like way, like very normal, average. And I think that's good, right? Because if you're not getting what you want, it means that you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, and you're pushing yourself into new boundaries, and you're trying and you're learning new things, right?
Yeah.
If everything was easy, and if you just imagined that it just happened, then there's no challenge. It would be boring, you know, and you wouldn't be moving forward. You wouldn't at least feel that you're moving forward. And so I think that's good. Like not getting what you want in a sense is good, because you're kind of learning, you're kind of improving and working on yourself, right?
I totally
and
agree
that
with
means yeah, and also that means the vision that you had is like really difficult to achieve, and so like good for you on that, you know. The vision that you had is hard, it's not easy, so kudos for that as well, you know. And so I think that's good.
I think
it's a learning
every
process.
shooting, something is at stake, you know, like
For sure.
you always have something at stake, like that. That thing is just like worrying so much, and it depends. Sometimes like you will know if it worked during the shooting, and sometimes you have to see if it worked during post-production, and those are the stress. But I feel like this is something that filmmaker, we hate and we love it so much at the same time, because it's so exciting. You know, it's so exciting.
It's exciting and scary at the same time.
Exactly. But I just like, I don't know. I love it and I hate it at the same time. Like you don't want to face it, but it's just so exciting. You just gotta try it.
It's a challenge, dude. Like challenges are nice, you know. It's something to overcome. So that's the nice part about it.
I feel like this is something that, and I think I told you before also, like one of Martin Scorsese masterclass, he mentioned about this pain that you have after you saw the first rough cut. And he literally said that after you saw the first rough cut, if you don't feel sick to your stomach, then something is wrong. You have to feel so disappointed at your first like rough cut. But he's talking about like film specifically. He was talking about feature films or whatever he does. He's not talking about like commercials. But I think I told you also, like when I did the project with you back then, when I first saw the rough cut, I was like depressed for 2 weeks.
Dude, I had the same exact feeling.
Oh man, it's like it feels like you're disappointed in yourself. You're like, you don't know what have you done, but you just gotta keep going.
Dude, all this time that we had, all this freaking money, all this effort that went in, we're like, oh my god, is this what I have? Like this is all that I have. And it's like fuck, and you kind of start to work from there and start to accept it, you know, accept the reality and start try to improve it, and work on it. But there's nothing you can do, you know. You have to accept it. But dude, like one of the things that really also this is something that you're also good at, that I mentioned before, is like when you kind of get that feeling that things are not kind of going the way you want, or things go wrong on set, you know, God forbid. And so people start to look at you, you know, especially when you have people around, and you're kind of like freaking out, like, okay, what I need to do, and like people looking at you, like waiting for you to do something. That is the thing that kind of screws, like you know, fucks with your head, because you're like, just don't look at me like that. I really don't know what I want to do, but I have to do something, you know.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like all what you're doing is just making things worse for me. And yeah, I mean, like moving from that and overcoming that, I think is a challenge as well.
This is something that really comes with the experience, man. I gotta say, like, but one thing I do always tell myself is that whenever people come and ask you questions, you gotta answer them like right at the place. You cannot say, I mean, maybe there's something that you can say, I have to tell you later, because you really cannot answer them right now. But a lot of questions that they ask you, you can't just answer them right on at the place. So you just gotta answer them right now and then, because if you don't answer them now, they're gonna come back to you with more questions, and it's gonna be harder to deal with them. You know, even if you answer them somehow the wrong answer, you can adjust it later on, but you gotta answer them, because people are just gonna come with more and more questions every time, like, and then Kai, we have a problem, Kai, we have a problem, Kai, it's like, I just hate it. I hate to hear that, but at the same time, you gotta deal with that.
Yeah. And sometimes you can over communicate, right? Like tell them, okay, like this is the problem and what do you think the solution is, you know? And if it's a small problem, obviously like people might help you on set, like they might give you other solutions. And that happened to me, and I would ask, and I would like, I would get solutions and we would apply it and it would work. And so there's nothing like wrong with that, you know? Like it happens with everyone. And so it's just about communicating. And I agree with you, 100% agree with it. I think it comes with experience. Like, I think the difference between like us and probably like Christopher Nolan or like really big and good directors is that they know how to deal with things on the spot. Like when something happens, they're like, okay, like let's get things moving. Let's do that, this and that. And they would solve the problem. They're much better at solving problems than us, you know? Yeah. And this is how I would imagine it, at least. And that comes with experience.
Definitely, man. And the thing is, I feel like, especially when directors and introverts, they shy away from a lot of things. Like I do see some from other directors, young directors that I've met on set. It's like sometimes they're too shy to correct people, or they're too shy to tell people. Like for example, people spend 10 minutes to adjust the light, and then he realized that the light is wrong. And then he struggles on telling them to change the light because it's the wrong thing. He's scared of people getting like, oh, you know, he don't want to see that. But sometimes you gotta just look past the fact that people are gonna hate on you. Some people are gonna hate on you sometimes. You gotta look past that. You cannot please everyone. Some people are gonna complain about you, you know. And the bigger the crew, the more people are gonna complain about the situation. But you cannot stop just because one or two people are being like
complaining.
They're complaining about it. And obviously you gotta be nice to everyone, because they're the one who's gonna help you complete this whole project. But if there's just a couple of people who are really like being whiny about it, you gotta look past that. So that's why it is really important to choose the right teammate. Like I'd say that people who are, because I did face some situation like this, I have to choose people who are really skillful or people who really communicate well with me. And me personally, most of the time I choose people who communicate well with me, because even if a person is really skillful, but if they cannot do what I want to portray, it can go really wrong. It did happen to me before. Like it's a very skillful person, but he did like a complete different thing from what I wanted, just because we have communication issues. So I think communication is something that you really got to work on. Like when you give someone an order, like I want this, you got to make sure that they understood it. You cannot expect them to, because some people, they're also scared of confirming if another person understood the order. So they just blindly believe that they understood it. And I did see this with more senior directors as well. And then when the thing is messed up, they start to scold the person. But you don't want to waste your time doing that. You gotta, one thing that I do is I let them tell me again, not to repeat, but they explain to me again what I just said. Sometimes if the thing is really complicated, not that I'm trying to treat them like a little kid, but I say, oh, do you understand? Do you want to like say to me just so we have like a common understanding on what I'm trying to do. You know, and there's some little tricks that I do, but you're gonna find your own like way of communicating on people. But don't be shy. I think this is something that really, you cannot be shy. You gotta, even if you're an introvert, you gotta talk. You know, you gotta talk.
Yeah, and it's good to ask questions as well. If somebody's telling you to do something, it's good to ask questions and to make sure you understand what the guy wants. And so I think we can, before we end this episode, I think we covered a lot of the stuff. Don't you think? I want to ask you a question, Guy. What are some of the like challenges that you constantly and repetitively face that on set? Like, what is a challenge that you constantly like think of on set, like that kind of happens over and over, and like the thing where like, man, if I can only get rid of this one thing, this one obstacle, I could just be very comfortable on set most of the times.
Oh man, that's a good question. I do think this thing happened a lot, and I'm sure it happened to you as well. Is when things went too smoothly, you don't know if something is wrong. Like when it did happen to me a couple of times. Like we just like first day of shooting, and then first 3 hours everything went too smooth to the point that I said, wait. Like, did we forget something? Yeah, did we forget something? How did it happen so fast? Like, how is it so smooth? Check the video again. Did we get the shot? Like, it happened to me multiple times. Like, or when we get the first shot is like, sometimes you do the same shot a couple of times, you know, just to be sure. And sometimes the first shot is perfect.
Good,
then,
yeah.
And
like, do it again.
Yeah, should do it again. And the worst. I wasn't like when I was a student. I remember there's this girl. I think the first time directing, I was the cinematographer.
Yeah.
We had to shoot this shot of a woman say, "Okay, bye bye." She literally did it 28 times. I counted. She did it 20
God!
Because she said, "Oh, do it like angrily." Said, "Okay, bye." And then, "Okay, do it like calmly." "Okay, bye." Like she was so nervous that she didn't get enough space, like enough way to edit. You know, like she wanted to make sure that the edit can be smooth. So she asked the actress to do 28 times. "Okay, bye." Just one shot. Like, it was so cringy to see it. I mean, I cannot blame her. You know, we were beginners, but this is something that, you know, I face even now.
Yeah.
What about you though?
To me, if I can go only get rid of one thing on set, I don't know, man. I think it would be like if I had more, I think time, bro. If I would only like have more time to look at things and assess, I think perhaps that's not a challenge, but like that is something that I always like kind of regret, like time. If I could only buy more time so that I can look at things and assess and before I continue, then
why do you need more time though? To shoot or to think?
I need more time to think, right? Because I want to get over this kind of doubtful voice, and time would like give me that. Just look at the shot and be like, just kind of sink it in, you know, sink in what I have and continue. Just 5 minutes, but you don't often get that. So that is something that I would love to have. And sometimes I would do that during the breaks actually. But yeah, it doesn't always happen.